Breaking news. And when I say breaking, I mean the kind of breaking that feels like your favorite glass table shattering in slow motion while everybody pretends they didn't touch it. Because today, we are stepping into a storyline so messy, so dramatic, so wildly unbelievable, that even Bravo producers would look at it and say, yeah, that's too toxic even for us. So tell me this. What happens when a Grammy-winning powerhouse walks into a courtroom with a secret video, and her soon-to-be ex-husband has absolutely no idea it's about to play? What happens when the woman who built an empire off hit records and cold, calculated business moves suddenly decides she's done protecting someone? And most importantly, what happens when your marriage ends not with a signature, not with a conversation, but with a piece of footage that could end careers? Because according to sources, and by sources I mean one lady in the courthouse hallway who looked like she definitely knows everyone's business, Kandi Burruss didn't just show up to finalize her divorce. She showed up with evidence. The type of evidence that makes judges remove their glasses, lean forward, and whisper, "Oh, wow. If you thought this divorce was going to be clean, calm, and mature, oh honey, you must be new here." It all started with a silence so loud, so painfully thick, you could practically hear the courtroom walls holding their breath. Not because a high-profile divorce was happening. Atlanta sees those every other weekend, but because of who was involved and what was rumored to be hiding behind those sealed envelopes, encrypted USB drives, and mysteriously timed, anonymous leaks circulating online like wildfire. If you've ever watched a marriage implode in real time, multiply that by 1,000, add a camera crew, subtract the dignity, and then sprinkle in whatever toxic spice blend keeps reality TV running. That's exactly the energy Kandi Burruss and Todd Tucker brought into that icy, tension-filled courtroom. People swear Kandi walked in like a woman who had already made peace with whatever nuclear-level chaos she was about to unleash. Todd, on the other hand, strutted in with that half-smirk he uses whenever he's trying to look unfazed while clearly spiraling inside. And honestly, who could blame him? When the internet starts whispering that your wife, who has "I've been famous longer than you've been breathing" energy, has secret footage, you have two options: act confident or fake a medical emergency. Todd chose the first one. Bold choice. Even before the judge entered, the whispers had begun. Everyone knew something big was coming, but no one knew what form it would take. A confession? A hidden affair? Financial fraud? A recorded argument? A voice note of Todd saying something incredibly stupid? All of the above? With these two, nothing was off the table. People forget Kandi isn't just a singer, songwriter, or business mogul. She's a strategist. A quiet storm. The kind of woman who doesn't yell, doesn't throw things, doesn't cause scenes. No, she takes notes, collects receipts, timestamps everything, and waits for the exact moment to drop it like a bomb. And the bomb, apparently, was today. Now, let's back up for a second and talk about how this whole mess escalated to the point where court security was quietly tightening their belts like they were preparing for a WWE-level takedown. Because this wasn't a sudden blow-up. No, this was years of little cracks disguised as cute banter. Fans saw it. Commentators saw it. Even people who never watched the show but happened to scroll past a clip on TikTok saw the tension simmering like a pot about to boil over. It began with the "you're too busy for me" argument. Then the "your money, my money, our money" argument. Then the infamous "who really runs this house" debate that had the internet analyzing their marriage like it was a college-level psychology assignment. And let's not forget Mama Joyce, who has been screaming "I don't trust him" since the day Todd first breathed in Kandi's direction. Look, when a mother dislikes you with that level of dedication, you either marry someone else or prepare to live with a spiritual curse. Todd did neither. But it wasn't until the whispers about finances started to swirl that things truly went from slightly messy to, oh dear God, this is reality TV gold. Rumors of mismatched spending habits, allegations that business, money, and personal money were getting mixed in ways that would make an accountant faint, claims that Todd was trying to pitch big projects that magically never produced anything except invoices. Meanwhile, Kandi was working non-stop, pumping out music, producing Broadway shows, opening restaurants, expanding brands, and generally keeping the household from financially combusting. So when the divorce filing hit the internet, people reacted like the world had been waiting for this season finale since 2014. But nobody expected the twist. Kandi claiming she had evidence that could change the entire course of the settlement. Not allegations, Not speculation, actual video. When someone with Kandi's track record says she has proof, you should probably start praying. By the time the judge finally entered the courtroom, everyone was on edge. Todd had this nervous twitch forming at the corner of his mouth. Kandi sat perfectly still, serene in the way only someone holding an Uno reverse card can be. Even the lawyers looked stressed, flipping through documents like they were searching for a page that didn't exist. The judge began with the usual formalities, but nobody was listening. Every eye was glued to the envelope sitting on Kandi's table, the one marked Exhibit C, the one tied with a red string like it was holding secrets from a spy thriller, the one everyone swore she guarded like it contained nuclear launch codes. And then, the moment happened. The judge asked Kandi's team if they had anything to present before the final financial negotiations began. Her lawyer stood up with this eerie calm, picked up the envelope, and said, "Yes, Your Honor, we have a recording relevant to the integrity of the marital estate and the behavior of the respondent." You could feel Todd turn into a statue, his jaw clenched so hard you could have opened a walnut with it. His lawyer leaned over and whispered something like, "Stay calm," which is ironic because that is the exact phrase people say right before everything goes horribly, catastrophically wrong. The judge asked if Todd's team had been informed, and the answer was a bold, unapologetic, no. Gasps. Literal gasps. Even the court reporter paused, typing like, "Ooh, this is spicy." The envelope was opened. A USB drive slid out, and Todd's face drained faster than a cracked iPhone battery. Here's where things get even more suspicious. According to someone who claimed they were in the courtroom again, could be a liar, could be an angel of gossip sent from heaven, they said. Todd's entire posture changed. He went from confident and upright to slumped, shaky, and staring straight ahead like he was watching his life flash before his eyes. Kandi didn't look at him once. The judge instructed that the footage would be played. No objections from Todd's side. How could he object to something he didn't know existed? His lawyer scrambled but couldn't stop it. Lights dimmed slightly. The monitor flickered. And as the clip began loading, the whole room froze. Every eye, every breath, every heartbeat. The screen flashed. A room appeared. A voice began to speak. And this was the exact moment the energy shifted from divorce proceeding to national scandal waiting to unfold. Before the audio revealed whatever truth was about to shatter the last remaining pieces of this marriage, the screen glitched for a second, giving everyone a tiny, terrifying preview. A silhouette, a timestamp, a sentence, and the sentence barely audible through the static was just enough to make the entire courtroom lean forward in disbelief. But no one was prepared for what came next, because the moment the audio finally came into focus, and what played through those courtroom speakers was enough to make even the judge's eyebrows launch halfway up their forehead. It wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't someone yelling or throwing things or confessing to a dramatic soap opera-level betrayal. No. It was something somehow worse, quieter, colder, more intentional, the kind of sentence that slices you open without ever raising its voice. Todd's voice, low and unguarded, speaking as if he believed no one would ever hear him. "Look, as long as she keeps working, we're good. I'm not going back to struggling. Not again." The words landed like a grenade. Simple, sharp, calculated. The type of statement that doesn't need dramatic music because the silence afterward does all the heavy lifting. Instantly, a wave of reactions erupted across the courtroom. Gasps, whispered, "Oh my gods," a muffled curse or two from the peanut gallery. Even the bailiff blinked twice like he wasn't mentally prepared for this level of mess on a Tuesday morning. Todd's lawyer looked like he had aged 10 years in 5 seconds. And Todd himself, well, Todd looked like a man who just realized his parachute was actually a plastic grocery bag. But the clip wasn't done. The video widened to show Todd sitting with 2 people, both faces blurred in the court-approved version, but the voices were clear enough. One person laughed and said, "Man, she's like your golden goose. You just gotta keep her doing what she does." Todd didn't argue. He didn't deny. He didn't defend. Instead, he responded with a tired sigh and said, "Yeah, well, she's the one with the name. I just have to keep her in a good mood so the money stays right." That sentence hit the room like a slap. And maybe it wasn't illegal, maybe it wasn't criminal, but it wasn't good. Not for optics, not for court, and definitely not for a divorce case involving millions, properties, investments, and a brand built almost entirely on Kandi's reputation of working with integrity. Kandi didn't flinch, didn't shift, didn't smile. She just stared straight ahead, as calm as a surgeon who already knew the operation was successful before even making the first incision. The clip continued, and with every passing second, Todd seemed to shrink further into his seat. The third person in the video chimed in with a question. So what if she stops working one day? You cool with that? And Todd's response was the kind of thing that makes judges stop writing and look up. I mean, I'd have to rethink a lot of things. The courtroom fell into a stunned silence again. But this time it was heavier, more loaded. The kind of silence that tasted like realization. The kind where everyone's eyes slowly widened, because they were all thinking the same thing. Did Todd just indirectly admit that this entire marriage depended on Kandi's work ethic? Kandi's lawyer paused the video, intentionally, dramatically, milking the tension like a seasoned producer. Todd's lawyer tried to object, but even his voice cracked like he couldn't believe he was the one forced to defend the indefensible. The judge asked for clarification politely, but with the energy of someone who fully understood the gravity of what they just heard. Kandi's team explained calmly, stating that the recording was from a meeting Todd had while negotiating a production project. A project Kandi wasn't aware of. A project allegedly pitched using her name. A project that, based on the audio, Todd believed she should keep funding as long as she remained motivated to work. Motivated. As if she was an employee. As if he was her manager. As if her entire existence was valuable only as long as she kept producing, creating, earning. Todd spoke up then, finally, desperately trying to explain. Saying the audio was taken out of context. Saying people talk casually when they're stressed. Saying it was just a joke. But here's the thing about jokes. When no one laughs, they stop being jokes. Kandi slowly turned her head toward him for the first time all day. Not angry. Not emotional. Just disappointed in a way that felt far more brutal. The room felt colder, and Todd's mouth went dry mid-excuse. Because how do you defend something so nakedly revealing? The judge allowed the video to continue, and somehow, unbelievably, it got worse. Todd admitted he'd been quietly collecting files, notes, and leverage, just in case things went sideways. Leverage. Not communication, not marriage counseling. Leverage. He sounded less like a husband and more like a business partner preparing for a corporate takeover. One of the blurred voices asked if he'd ever consider a separation, and Todd responded, "Not until I'm secure. I need things lined up first." Secure. Lined up. Not happy. Not healthy. Not healed. Secure. By now, you could practically feel the court stenographer typing like their fingers were on fire, trying to get every syllable down before this became the biggest trending hashtag of the week. Even the security guards had that "we're definitely about to be on TMZ" expression. The clip finally ended, and for a long moment, nobody moved. The judge leaned back, processing. Todd put his head in his hands. His lawyer whispered aggressively. Kandi sat motionless, the embodiment of someone who already knew how this story ended. Social media went feral instantly because obviously someone inside the courtroom, accidentally, tweeted the words, "Rethink a lot of things" before the hearing even resumed. Suddenly, TikTok was stitching clips of their marriage with dramatic music. Twitter was hosting threads titled, "Did Todd marry for love or lifestyle?" Instagram pages were posting astrology breakdowns about why this was a long time coming, whatever that means. And in the midst of all this chaos inside and outside the courtroom, the judge finally spoke. "I will need time to review the significance of this footage as it relates to financial intentions within the marriage." That single sentence basically translated into, "Todd, your entire settlement just burst into flames." Todd tried to speak again, saying it was all being twisted, saying he never meant it like that, saying he loves Kandi and never saw her as a paycheck. But intentions don't hit as hard as receipts, and the receipts were crystal clear. Kandi finally spoke for the first time, her voice steady and calm. "I kept this because I wanted the truth to be heard, not just for me, but for the years I carried this marriage on my back while being made to feel guilty for succeeding." It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't loud. It was the kind of truth that sounds heavier because it's been held inside for too long. Todd looked shattered. Not angry shattered. Because in that moment, it wasn't about money or settlements or fame. It was the realization that the woman sitting across from him had stopped fighting for them long before this day, and he never noticed. The judge called for a brief recess, but nobody got up immediately. Everyone was still frozen in that emotional chokehold of what they had just witnessed. Todd didn't move. Kandi didn't look back. The courtroom was thick with a strange mixture of shock, sadness, and oh damn, this just got real. And just as the judge stood up to leave, Kandi's lawyer quietly mentioned something that made Todd's head snap up like he'd been electrocuted. There is a second recording. And this single sentence, delivered in the softest voice imaginable, was the moment the entire courtroom seemed to collapse inward. Because if the first recording was this bad, then the second one could end everything. And the second one could end everything. That's exactly where the tension snapped from heavy to unbearable, like the air itself tightened around everyone's lungs. Todd's eyes widened in pure panic, not the calculated, controlled anxiety he had earlier, but raw, unfiltered terror. The kind of look a person gets when they know the next 5 minutes might decide the rest of their life. Kandi didn't react, didn't blink, didn't shift. It was as if she had rehearsed this exact moment, down to the second, down to the breath. Meanwhile, Todd's lawyer immediately stood up, practically yelling, "Your Honor, we were not informed of a second." But the judge shut that down with a single raised hand. Not even a sentence, just a hand. That's how you know the judge was fully done with the drama and ready to get to the bottom of whatever bomb was about to drop next. The recess ended faster than expected because nobody wanted to waste time. Reporters outside were already losing their minds, pacing back and forth like caffeinated puppies, calling their editors, whisper screaming into microphones, trying to guess what the mysterious second recording could possibly be. Some were claiming adultery, others were predicting a financial confession. One lady swore on her spirit guides that it was something involving Mama Joyce. It was chaos, but inside stillness. The kind of stillness that feels like the world is about to split open. When everyone returned to their seats, the judge's voice was sharper, more focused. "Miss Burruss, your counsel has indicated further evidence. Is this accurate?" Kandi nodded once. Not dramatically, not theatrically, just once. Like someone confirming the sky is blue. Todd whispered to his lawyer again, but the panic was too loud, too obvious, and the more he fidgeted, the more the courtroom smelled fear in the air. Kandi's team presented a second USB drive. Sleek, silver, looking unfairly innocent for something that was likely about to vaporize Todd's half of the settlement. The judge asked if Todd wanted a moment to review the footage privately with his lawyer. Todd hesitated, and this was the mistake. Because hesitation is guilt's closest friend, Kandi's lawyer didn't even need to say anything. The silence sold the entire moment. Todd finally muttered, "Play it," and that was it. The clip loaded. This time, no blurred faces, no dim lighting, no casual tone. The video was from inside their home. A camera Todd clearly didn't know was recording. The familiar living room setting, the iconic black and white decor, the edge of the dining table that fans recognized from dozens of episodes. But the atmosphere in the clip? Completely different. Heavy. Tense. Todd paced the room, phone in hand, talking to someone. "I'm telling you, man, I need my own security in this. I can't let her lawyers box me in." His voice was sharp, agitated. "She's too smart, too connected. If I don't get ahead of this, I'm screwed." In the courtroom, you could practically feel the heat rise under Todd's collar. He looked away from the screen like he wanted to melt into the chair. The voice on the phone sounded like a consultant, maybe a friend, maybe another blurred accomplice from the first clip. "So what's the plan?" they asked. Another simple question that Todd should not have answered the way he did. "I'm gonna move the funds before she looks. Shift what I need to my personal account. Once the divorce talks start, I'll be ready. I've been preparing for months." Preparing for months. The words echoed in the courtroom like a scythe cutting through the air. Financial manipulation, premeditation, intentional deceit. Todd's lawyer nearly fell over trying to whisper, "Stop the video, Your Honor. This is taken, Your Honor. This is Your Honor." But the judge held up that same quiet, deadly hand. The call in the video continued. "I didn't sign up to build her empire for free," Todd said, pacing with that irritated energy only resentful ambition can produce. "She's the name. She's the face. I'm the one doing the real work and getting nothing. If she walks away, I'm walking away with something too." The consultant replied softly, "Just make sure she doesn't find out. Kandi's not the type you can trick." And Todd said the one sentence that caused audible gasps to ripple through the room like aftershocks. "I already did." In real time, Todd covered his face with both hands. People in the courtroom were whispering things like, "Oh my God, this is insane. And he's done. He's absolutely done." Even the judge inhaled like they needed a moment to process what was unfolding in front of them. The video timestamp revealed it was recorded months before any divorce filings were public. Months before Todd started hinting at marital dissatisfaction. Months before the "we drifted apart" narrative he had fed to close friends had even begun. This wasn't a spontaneous split. This wasn't a mutual decision. This wasn't emotional decay. This was strategy. Planned. Calculated. Hidden. The clip ended, leaving the entire room in stunned, suffocating silence. Todd tried to speak, but all that came out was a broken, "This isn't, it's not, it's manipulated." But the judge interrupted him with a sharpness that quieted every corner of the courtroom. "Mr. Tucker, the court will consider this evidence extremely carefully. The implications here are serious." And serious was putting it lightly. Because what Todd was facing wasn't just losing a few dollars. He was looking at losing property claims, investment stakes, possibly even rights to business partnerships he had been trying to leverage. The judge ordered an immediate audit of their shared finances. An audit. The kind of word that makes even innocent people sweat. Todd's lawyer was visibly shaking. Kandi's team sat calmly, professionally, as if they had only presented a weather report instead of a relationship-ending nuclear weapon. Todd finally looked at Kandi, his eyes desperate, pleading, broken, but her face remained unreadable. The judge called another recess, so both sides could recover from the emotional and legal earthquake that had just hit. Outside the courtroom, cameras were already forming a wall. Reporters were in full meltdown mode. Twitter was on fire. Memes were spawning like bacteria in a warm kitchen. Someone had already photoshopped Todd onto a sinking ship with the caption, "When you try to outsmart a woman who reads contracts for fun." It was brutal, breathtaking chaos. Inside, though, Todd approached Kandi quietly during the break. A risky move. "Can we talk?" he whispered. Kandi didn't even turn her head. "We're in court. Talk to your lawyer." "But you know I didn't mean, everything you meant," she said, "is already on video." A simple sentence, but it hit harder than anything in either recording. When court resumed, the judge announced that due to the seriousness of the evidence, the divorce would not be finalized that day. Instead, further hearings and investigations would be scheduled. Todd's dreams of walking out with leverage had evaporated. The power had shifted entirely. And as everyone packed up to leave, Kandi walked out first. Not fast, not dramatic, just steady, composed, resolute. Todd stayed behind, sitting, staring at the table like the wood grain might suddenly offer solutions. The final blow came from the judge as they exited. "Mr. Tucker, you will need to provide full financial transparency before the court reconvenes." Todd exhaled shakily. Transparency was the one thing he didn't want to give. And so, as the cameras flashed outside and reporters screamed questions into the air, one truth became clearer than anything else. This wasn't just a divorce. This was an unmasking. And the world wasn't ready for what came next. And there you have it, another day. Another celebrity meltdown wrapped in luxury, lies, and courtroom whisper campaigns. But before you even try to process everything we just uncovered, let me ask you this. Do you honestly think this story ends here? Because if there's one thing we've learned from Kandi and Todd's never-ending roller coaster of drama, it's that the moment we think it's finally over, boom, another bombshell drops out of nowhere. And trust me, the next one is already loading. So now I want to hear from you. Do you believe Todd really walked into that courtroom trying to play mastermind? Or was Kandi 3 steps ahead the whole time? Who's telling the truth? Who's acting? Who's panicking? And most importantly, who's getting exposed next? Drop your thoughts, theories, and wild predictions in the comments. Because you know I read them, and half of y'all come up with plot twists better than Netflix. If you want the next update the second it leaks, hit that like button, smash that subscribe, and turn on notifications so hard that YouTube starts questioning your life choices. Because the tea is boiling, the secrets are spilling, and this channel, we're just getting started.